We're on a road to nowhere. Come on inside. Taking that ride to nowhere. We'll take that ride. I'm feeling okay this morning. And you know, we're on the road to paradise. Here we go, here we go. There's a city in my mind. Come along and take that ride, and it's alright, baby, it's alright. And it's very far away, but it's growing day by day, and it's alright, baby, it's alright. Would you like to come along, and you can help me sing this song, and it's alright, baby, it's alright. There's a city in my mind. Come along and take that ride, and it's alright, baby, it's alright. And it's very far away, but it's growing day by day. It's alright, baby, it's alright. They could tell you what to do, but they'll make a fool of you, and it's alright, baby, it's alright.
Hello, everyone. Let me just put on Twitter that I'm live. Let me see here. So before I forget, and I'm probably going to say this again, before I forget, I do want to say trigger warning, because we are going to be talking about sexual harassment in the workplace. And I know, like, so many women have been through that. So I want to make sure that I put a trigger warning. I always understood what trigger warnings were, but I don't think I truly understood the purpose until I interviewed Tara Reid. And I listened to her, and after we got off the air, I just had like a full-on fucking breakdown. And it wasn't because I went through the exact same thing. It was just because I think a lot of times, even empaths, we have, we need a trigger warning because we're like, holy shit, like, even it's not about just reliving your trauma. It's about feeling, compassion for the other person that's going through that. That can be triggering. Seeing someone in pain that you want to help, but you don't know how to help, that can be triggering. So it was then that I truly understood what a quote unquote trigger warning was. I'm just gonna put this on the Twitter. Okay, so this was kind of an impromptu thing. I decided to do a few hours ago. Let me see if anyone else answered my poll. Let me see. I made a poll on Twitter because, and these don't always work out well because, some people say, oops, I hit the wrong one. And some people answer who may not, who probably shouldn't have answered. And some people answer so that it's skewed and, all that shit. So it doesn't mean this is a science, but I wanted to do a poll, and it says, for women in the workplace, have you ever been sexually harassed at work? And the options were yes, reported, yes, not reported, and no. So 105 people voted, and yes, reported got the lowest amount, which is not surprising yet very sad. Yes, reported got 18%, no got 22%, and yes, not reported got 60%. So I'm sure, had we had more votes, the numbers, would have been higher. But, I guess I just want to talk about, first of all, y'all need to start commenting. I don't know why there's no comments in here. Not that I can necessarily see them when they are in there, but I definitely want this to be an interactive show. So first, I kind of want to go over, and this is for everyone, even though people may think it's directed more towards men. It is for everyone, because I think labels can get very confusing, and they can be interchangeable with some people, and I think it's very important to understand that the correct usage of language. Hello, how are you, love? So the first thing I want to say is sexual harassment. What is that? Could be comments, it could be the touch of a shoulder, it could be asking you out, saying no, and asking you again, things like that. That's sexual harassment. As far as sexual assault, that is physical. That is backing you into a corner, touching you, things like that. And then, of course, we all know what rape is. That is like the next, one over. But sexual harassment, I think a lot of people get confused with sexual assault. And sexual harassment does not need to be, something just like something physical. It could be something, a comment made that makes you very uncomfortable. So let's talk about sexual harassment in the workplace. I've had it, several times, and it's almost like the grieving period in a way. Like you're like, nah, they don't mean anything by it, and well, I'm taking it the wrong way, or it was just a joke, it doesn't matter. And with myself, I have a really like, it takes a lot to offend me, a lot. And I curse, I make jokes and stuff like that. So I am pretty open as far as like crass language and stuff like that. So for someone to make me uncomfortable, it has to be pretty hardcore. But when it comes to the workplace, that is very different. That's not savage joy. That's joy. So the people I've worked in offices with do not know this side of me. But it could be something as simple as, when I was a manager at a drugstore, my superior, there was a huge aisle. And he proceeded to walk behind me while rubbing his crotch up against me when he walked by me. It was a huge aisle. No reason for that, but he did it. Then I'm sitting there and I'm like, he thought he was going to fall. Maybe there was something on the floor. He's not, I think he has a girlfriend. It's whatever. It's no big deal. And you tell yourself this shit over and over, and you're like, yeah, like you're daydreaming. It's not, it's not actually bad. Why? And then sometimes, those of us who have insecurities, we just tell ourselves, why are you being so conceited? Why are you being presumptuous that they find you attractive? And you kind of go through all of these attempts at rationalizations. But then a lot of times the person will do something or say something again. Um, so the guy I'm talking about, then, you know, I had two pregnancy tests. They were buy one, get one free. Okay. I had them on the table because someone was shopping and said, "Can you hold these?" Okay. And the same manager comes over and says, "Joy, are these for you? I had no idea you were like that." And I was like, "What?" Like, it was it was weird, it was awkward, it was out of nowhere. I was like, "Those aren't mine," and I'm honestly not even sure how to respond to that. Like, all these thoughts are going through my head, and then at that point, I'm like, "Okay, no, I do think that was inappropriate," and but of course, I didn't say anything, you know, and, uh, then something happened a third time, and so on and so forth, and I never reported him. I mean, as happens so much. um but at my last job, you know, it's something I really don't talk about because it makes me self-conscious, but I have been a triple D since, I as far as I can remember, and I even have women, comment on it, and stuff like that, and it's something I'm not necessarily ashamed of, but because I make jokes like, bitches pay thousands for these babies, and I make jokes like that and stuff, but sometimes I do get very self-conscious, and yes, that is one of the reasons that I'm always like this on the air, because I do get comments in my streams quite often, sexual comments when I'm talking about something important. Um, but the the one situation that really stands out at the workplace was the last office I worked at. I used to eat lunch at this the lunch table in the cafeteria of the office, and there was this guy who sat like in this. We always, I don't know why, but people always sit in the same freaking tables all the time and at office cafeterias. I don't know why. Everywhere I've ever worked, we always sit at the same fucking tables. We always sit at. So there was this guy, and he sat like across, but I mean like fully across the cafeteria, like easily like six tables over, but there was never anyone who sat in between our tables. And he always stared at me, but I didn't think anything of it. Like, I have fucking blue hair, I have piercings, I have tattoos. I'm like, whatever, people stare at me, I don't give a shit. And I didn't think anything of it. But I sat with this girl at lunch, and he's like that. She said, "That's so and so, the maintenance man." I was like, "Well, why is he always staring at me?" She's like, "Oh, well, he's weird." I was like, "Okay, well, apparently." So then I would just ignore it. And the one day, the girl I sit with said to me, "Joy," he came up to me and he said, "Who's your friend?" And I said, "Which one?" And he said, "The one with the tits." And I said, "Oh, that's Joy." And I'm like, okay, there are so many problems wrong with this. Number one, we have an office with over 300 people, and I'm pretty sure a lot of us have tits. And number two, the fact that you like knew he was talking about me and like said my name, like that's also a problem. So I'm like, okay, like I'm literally known in my office of like 300 people as the girl with the tits. Like that's apparently how I'm known. That's wonderful. Um so things like that, that is technically sexual harassment. Did he come up to me and say, "I want to XYZ"? No. However, he spoke about me sexually. It made me very uncomfortable. Tech. Did I say something? No. Of course not. I didn't, and one of the reasons is because when women do report things like this, you know what's going to happen? They're going to look right at your chest. Like, they're gonna. That's how it works. Like, and it's not even on purpose. Like, if you're explaining, oh, he said you're the one with the tits, they're automatically gonna go like that. Like, and you don't want to call more attention, you know what I mean, to what you're now being seen as. Let me see if I can see a hostile work environment. Yeah, like, seriously. And it got to the point where I would just start eating, eating dinner, lunch at my desk, because I was like, I don't know what he's thinking about, but and I would just like kind of like, and nobody should have to be self-conscious, like, especially, like, that's my work. I'm there fucking 40 hours a week. I should be able to, like, wear whatever the hell I want, and I dressed very professionally, by the way. And nothing tight or anything like that. So when people say, well, you shouldn't dress a certain way and give people thoughts, well, I'm not going to say conservatively, but for me, conservatively. So, it's situations like that. And I'm telling you, I swear, like, every girl I know has been in these situations. This is not rare. So when we're saying sexual harassment, there are so many different examples of ways that could be interpreted. Now, sexual harassment could also be like Cuomo. Sexual harassment could be, shutting a door and having someone in their office and saying things and asking for massages, things like that. That's a different kind. So there's verbal, there's, manipulative, there's so many different kinds. And the chances are, many times, when someone is doing it to you, they could also be doing it to someone else. But it's not, management, especially in offices and corporations, we have an open door policy. Yeah, you fucking do. Yeah, right. Sure you do. Because I have reported management for things in the past, and within like an hour, it's retaliation time. So no, they don't keep things private as much as they say they will. They don't. There was a guy when I worked for the state Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. There was a dude who sat a row over for me, and I'm not fucking kidding you. Legit took his penis out and started masturbating at his desk. And it was a desk, like, it was a temporary desk that had, like, it wasn't a cubicle. It was like 4 people across. And I'm just like, what the fuck is going on? What is going on? But state Commonwealth means you don't get fired. It means he was sentenced to 30 days of sexual therapy. And from what I understand, the girl who sat next to him was very traumatized. Because, like, we were working with, like, federal student loans. I'm not sure how that's, like, exciting sexually. But he was staring at the computer and all of a sudden felt a need to take his penis out and masturbate. And would not stop when he was told, what are you doing? He didn't stop. So the girl next to him, understandably, was kind of traumatized by that, and she wasn't at work for a little bit. But let's take that for example. Okay, so because he worked for the state, okay, you're sentenced to 30 days sexual therapy. What would stop him from doing that again? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. I mean, so, and then you have people of higher up positions. That is typically the way it happens. Your superior, quote unquote, has that leverage over you. They have that intimidation tactic. They they get you to a point where you're like, I have bills to pay. I do not want to lose my job. If I speak up, this might happen, that might happen. People, might treat me as an outcast. My boss, my direct boss may find out about it. I've even worked with a married couple. So then you really don't want to say anything. So there's so many different situations that are so difficult to navigate. So then you also think about, like, let's think about something like this, like Monica Lewinsky. She has gotten harassed for decades. She has gotten smeared, bullied, threatened, you name it. And, people love to make jokes about the cigar and the blue dress and stuff, but there's something that people always leave out. The fact that she was an employee and Slick Willie was her boss. So, yes, she was of age. Yes, she was willing, but he was in a position of power and he used her in the workforce at her job to manipulate her and get sexual acts in the workplace. That is systemic. That is a problem. So although people love to make jokes about that and, oh, she's awful, for, cheating with Bill and stuff. No, the fact of the matter is he is still responsible, even though it was consensual and she was of age. He was still her superior. He was still her boss. And he took advantage of her. That is a problem. But you don't hear people talk about that. That's, and this happens all the time. Oh my God. And when it happens to you, outside of work, it's much easier to call that person out because you don't have that fear of retribution. You don't have that fear of seeing them literally every single day. But when you are working with someone, easily, all they have to do is tell one person. I'm just going to go there. The one time I worked retail at this store called Kohl's. I don't know if you guys have those, but this guy was making comments about my chest, and I was friends with the one manager outside of work. Like, we used to hang out and go to coffee shops and stuff like that. And I said something to her nonchalantly because she was saying something about this kid, like, God, he's weird. And I was like, yeah, I know. And he says, like, XYZ. And she's like, oh, no, I have to report that. And I was like, no, please don't. Please don't. It's okay. It's fine. Don't. Like, I was just adding to what you were saying. I don't want to. And she's like, Joy, I have to. So she made me write this like written statement about what happened. And I was not there, because she didn't want to know who had said it or anything. And she told me, she said, I called him in the office and all I said was, do you think you have said anything while employed here to make a woman feel uncomfortable? And he said, yes, I commented on Joy's breasts. So he knew what he was doing was wrong. He knew. He wasn't like, I don't think so, and like racking his brain trying to figure it out. Like, he specifically knew what that was about. So yes, there are some guys who are just like not clear, as to what the boundaries are or what have you. And that's sad, and that is a problem in itself. But there are men who do understand what is okay and not okay, and they will do it anyway. So I I don't know what the answer is, so to speak. What is the answer? Well, I'll tell you what's not the answer. One of the worst things you can do as parents is tell your kids, he's just being mean to you because he likes you. Things like that. You know what? When I was growing up, a little kid used to pull my bra strap and snap it. And I'd be like, I don't like that. Why are you doing that? And the teachers would always say, it just means he likes you. And as an adult, I look back and I'm like, that is an awful thing to say to a kid. Because now I'm growing up and I'm like, oh, it's cool. That's totally cool. Then this was interesting. I was at a concert the one night. This was like 2 years ago. And I was leaving and we were going to the parking garage and I was with my husband. And there was this girl, she was with her boyfriend, husband, friend, I don't know what he was. And they're walking and they're like, yeah, that was an awesome show. And I was like, yeah, it was so badass. All of a sudden, I feel someone's hand grab my ass. And I turn around and it was the girl. And she's like, you're cute. And I was like, can you not do that? And she's like, you can get mad. I'm a girl. And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, what does that matter? So you're going to come across all fucking weird shit. Like, it was weird. My husband was literally right there. It's like, I couldn't get mad because she was a girl. That was a new one to me. I have never heard someone say something like that until then. That was odd. But and thankfully it wasn't something that traumatized me, or anything like that, but it was fucking weird. And then it made me think, wait, can this happen again? Like, is there another woman who's going to like grab me or something and be like, well, I'm sorry, you can't get mad because I'm a girl? Like, it was fucking weird. So it just made me think of, there really are people who will just use excuses to do like things that people may not want them to do. And like, it really doesn't matter what gender you are or, how you, consider yourself, people's bodies are their bodies. Like, don't put your hands on them. Like, there are no exceptions. Like, no exceptions. Let me see if I can read some of these. Oh, I wish I could read the comments. I will definitely read them afterwards. I know this is, a very difficult topic, and like, I've interviewed Lindsay Boylan, I've interviewed Tara Reid, I've interviewed Professor Zenkis, I've interviewed sexual assault victims, sexual assault therapists, things like that, and it's not an easy topic to think about. But I'm actually going to switch it up to another perspective now. And I'm going to talk about our need for national improved Medicare for all, and what that has to do with sexual assault, sexual harassment, rape, and so on, incest. When women go to the hospital and get a rape kit, they are billed for that. If you are raped and you go to the hospital to report that you have been raped, you will actually receive a bill. What in the fuck is that? So, not only are women scared to report for a myriad of reasons, but they're actually going to be penalized for reporting monetarily. Unacceptable. When I started hearing about that and reading articles about that, I was just blown away. I cannot even fathom. I mean, let's just think about this. Let's break it down. How many women do you think have gone to the ER to report a rape and then turned around and left because they have no insurance? Like, seriously, let's think about that. Or how many have turned and walked away because they were told, we can see you, but you have $100 copay. This system is violent. This is one of many reasons. To take it a step further, what women need, or what anyone needs when they are sexually assaulted, sexually harassed, anything like that, what they need is the ability to have professional help, be it therapists, be it whatever they need. Because so many times with that trauma it can come depression, anxiety, self-harm, lack of sleep, suicidal ideation, tons of things. So with that, you need the means and the ability to get treatment if that is the route you want to go. And a lot of times people don't go that route because they don't have the means or the ability to do so. So that is another reason that Medicare for All directly goes into sexual assault and rape and sexual harassment. And it really is interconnected with everything. Also, so get it this way. How many women stay at a job when they're being sexually harassed? Because they can't lose their insurance, because they have kids, because they have medical problems. In fact, in the votes I was sharing earlier that I did on Twitter, someone stated, I reported, but I had kids to take care of. That fear of losing your job, that fear of losing your insurance, things like that, those are reasons why people do not come forward. These things aren't talked about. And I'm also going to say this. Planned Parenthood has done an amazing job with so many women. They have been a resource for years and have helped countless women. I will never say otherwise. I'm also going to say that they're completely against Medicare for All. And that is per articles by them. That is per their statements. And yes, let's look at it. Okay, yes, that means they'd be out of business. I get that. However, there is no reason they could not be a part of Medicare for All and still provide those services. What it comes down to is that, no, you do not care about women's health and women's safety if you do not want them to have 100% of all of their health care covered. All of it. Including stuff you yourself cannot provide. So maybe that's counseling. Maybe it's chiropractor. Maybe it's like myself and it's, my eye surgeries. You should want all-encompassed healthcare for every single person in our country, regardless of state, regardless of ethnicity, regardless of citizenship, regardless, period. Not just reproductive, and not just, when it comes to sexual assault and things like that. Real, true feminism is 100% coverage. That is it. No ifs, ands, or buts. No caveats. 100%. Every single thing a woman could want or need covered. And if you don't support that, then don't use the word feminist, and don't use the word, don't say things like, we support all women and we do everything we can for women. You're actually not. You are providing a service, and a service that has helped many women, but it's not an all-inclusive service. So we need to make that very clear, that while they are helping people, they are not helping everyone. And let's think about our LGBTQ plus people. Are they being helped necessarily by Planned Parenthood? I don't know, maybe. But I think Medicare for all would actually be more advantageous as well. National Medicare for all would mean 100% coverage for everyone, regardless. And there is I know Planned Parenthood, sometimes there's wait lists, sometimes they have, limited hours, sometimes they can't get volunteers, things like that. So these are also things that would be taken care of. So while they have done amazing work, we have to think about the fact that it's not enough. When we say we care about women and we want to help women, it has to be in all regards. Let me see. I'm going to see if I can see any of these. I can't read. I wish I could see some of these because it's some of my favorite peeps in here. But I always use my device to read your comments afterwards, I promise. But yeah, I mean, so much is going on, with sexual harassment in the workplace, and on Twitter being talked about, and Tara Reid made a post today about Joe Biden, and it was just weighing heavy on my mind. And I thought, you know what, like, I've talked about it before, but never, I don't believe I've ever done in 5 years a personal stream, just me, myself, and I, and talked about it. And the last thing I wanted to touch on was, I say being a streamer, whatever you want to call it, a YouTuber or whatever, is not easy, especially as a woman. And although, I make jokes and stuff like that, and, can have like a crass sense of humor and do fun shows with comedians and stuff, there is a place and a time. And if I'm doing a show, with a comedian, and we're talking about, sex and laughing and having fun, and people put stuff in the comments, I don't care. But if I'm talking about war, famine, environmental crises, things like that, and I see things like, eggplant and squirt emojis, it's frustrating. And stuff like that happens all the time. Because in the 5 years I've been doing this, I've never had a co-host. Now, I might have one like once a month or something like that, but I've always been just me. Way before other women did. Like, I'm just gonna put that out there. And people were not used to that. Seeing a woman by herself on a platform, and it took me a long ass time to get used to, or at least become acclimated to the fact that, stuff like this was going to happen. And some of it I laugh off, but some of it gets frustrating because I'm like, why? Like, go watch a porn. I'm trying to talk about something important. I'm trying to talk about life and death here. And you're essentially you're proving to me that what I'm saying has no substance to you, and all you're thinking about is sex. Go think about it somewhere else, dude. Like, you don't need to be here. Like, I'm not gonna kink shame. If you want to do your thing, go do it. But don't. Why do you gotta say something on my thread? Go leave. Do it somewhere else. And it's things like that that's so frustrating, because you're like, wait, I'm saying something that I feel passionate about, that I feel needs to get said. And half the time I talk about stuff that nobody else is even talking about. Or I'm having interviews, like very important interviews. And, I'm seeing things like, perverse emojis during it. And I'm just like, if we're joking around, that's one thing, but this isn't one of those streams. This isn't one of those shows where we're having fun and stuff like that. Like, it makes you feel very unvalued. It makes you feel like what you're saying does not have worth. It makes you feel like there is very little merit to what you're saying. And it makes you question, should I keep doing this? Because if people are only watching, like, like, how many other people are thinking this who aren't saying it, and then you get in your head, am I really being listened to? You know what I mean? And it's an interesting animal, when you do this, for people who don't do shows, it's so hard to explain to you guys, but when you do this, there is nothing more invasive. There is nothing more vulnerable than being on live camera in front of complete strangers. Now, yes, some of you guys are regulars, and I love you to pieces. But anyone in the fucking world can just join right now and say whatever they want. And that is a fact that we as streamers have to accept. We are fully, opening up our commentary and our stories and everything to literally anyone and everyone in the universe, whoever wants to tune in. And that's a pretty daunting thing. Like, I try to just kind of tune it out and, like, pretend I'm talking to myself sometimes. But, it's kind of daunting when you break it down. Like, you're sharing your personal stories, and your personal thoughts and commentary for literally anyone and everyone. And I think, people don't necessarily appreciate how intense that is and how daunting it can be. So I just wanted to share that perspective as well. I see Whoop-Dee with lots of hearts and dinos. I love you, Whoop-Dee. Well, yeah, this was an impromptu, more kind of a impromptu stream, but I just, with so much going on, and Twitter always makes the mind, do whoop-dees. So I figured I would do a show on this, but and I hope you guys have taken something from it. It's nothing, I guess I just wanted more of a stream of consciousness of, you know, kind of a place that other people feel maybe they're not so alone, and just kind of for the first time share some of the things that I've gone through at workplaces. And as you can see, there, they haven't been things that, well, the ones I've shared haven't been things that have necessarily traumatized me, but that doesn't mean they weren't inappropriate. So I think that, I'm hoping that people here, watching understand that, like, you know, it's, if you're ever unsure if you should say or do something, don't. Just don't. Like, if you think, oh shit, this could get me in trouble, but I'm going to say it, don't do it. This might offend that girl, but I'm going to say it, don't. Don't. Like, that is the only way to just, try to divert that. If you're thinking maybe you shouldn't say it, just don't fucking say it. But yeah. So thank you all so much for watching. Tomorrow night, I have a gentleman from Hawaii, from Big Island, Mikey, and he will be joining me to talk about Red Hill. That is where Pearl Harbor was, and it's a Naval Academy base where they have tons of oil that is actually going into people's water. And if you go to my Twitter, you can see Mikey's video. He actually confronted his representative, like, legit on live, film, and was like, "What are you doing? Are you going to close it down?" And she kept saying, "I'm looking into it," things like that. So, but he kept going. He must have asked her 15 times, "But are you going to close it? Are you going to close it? Are you going to close it?" And she just kept, "Well, so we're going to talk about the importance of closing that shit down." So yeah, we'll be discussing that. I don't know if I'm allowed to say something I'm doing Tuesday night. It will be announced. I don't know if I'm allowed to say it, so I'm not going to say it yet. So that's tomorrow. Monday, postmortem breakdown, of course, with Logan and Andrew. Tuesday at 6 p.m. Eastern, I will be going on Graham Elwood's show. It's been a while, but yeah, I'll be joining Graham, and we'll be talking about this awesome event I'm co-organizing right there. I see my Shane. Happy birthday, Shane. Love you. And my Elizabeth, I love you too. Happy birthday tomorrow. And, it's going to be so fucking epic. It's a 3-day virtual forum. And there's the dates 11th through 13th, which is next weekend. So we have panels all 3 days, and maybe a few musicians or someone in there as well, and some cameo videos. But we're gonna have panels on tons of healthcare workers, activists, and we're gonna have panels such as the environment with health, racial disparities in healthcare, disability panel, mental health panel. We are going to touch on everything to connected to healthcare, which is literally everything. So you are not going to want to miss this. This is going to be so incredible. I'm going to be hosting several of the shows, but we have a few awesome guest hosts. We have incredible panelists. You're definitely going to want to tune in. It is going to be fucking awesome. It starts a week from tomorrow at 6 p.m. And we will be announcing panelists and such shortly. We are getting the graphics together. Wonderful Shane is working on those, and they're looking badass. So please stay tuned for that. And also watch for the announcement for something I'm supposed to be doing after Graham's show on Tuesday night. But yes, please keep that date in mind. It's our next big event after the 56 actions we did last July. So it's a really big, informative, educational 3 days with organic discussions on people just like you and I. Um, it's gonna be awesome. So yes, tune in. Thank you so much. I love you guys. And I will see you tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Eastern. Thanks for watching as always.